Good day, dear viewers. My name is Ayodeji Tadobo, a first-class graduate of law from Ekiti State University and graduate intern at HARLEM Solicitors. I want to specially welcome you to today's video class. In today's video class, we shall be having an overview of the special regulatory and emergency powers of the Nigerian Communications Commission. After the end of this class, I expect that you should be familiar with the special regulatory and emergency powers of the Nigerian Communications Commission. You should know what makes them to be special, and you should know certain principles that these powers runs on. Now, before we venture into our study properly, it is important that we have a very good background spiced with statutory provision. Section 3 of the Nigerian Communications Act 2003, here referred to as NCA 2003, provides for the establishment of Nigerian Communications Commission, here referred to as the NCC. Not just that the Act alone provides for the establishment of NCC, the Act went further in Section 4 of the NCA 2003 to provide for certain functions and powers for this commission. Now, it is important that some of these powers and functions of the commission are considered to be special. And what makes these powers to be special? Number one is that these powers, they help in enforcing the regulatory mandates of the commission. And the number two is that they facilitate the responses of the commission to national emergency and occurrences that may be against public safety. Now, it is also very important for you to know that these powers do not just run arbitrarily, they run on certain principles. Section 4 of the NCA 2003 provides for these principles. So also Regulation 3 of the Nigerian Communication Enforcement Processes, Regulations 2019, provides for these principles. Now, what are these principles? They are the principles of transparency, the principles of fairness, and the principle of non-discrimination. Now, let us venture into our study properly. In this study, we will be examining 10 special powers of this commission, that is the NCC. Now, to start with, the number one power is that the commission has the power to issue out regulatory direction. Section 53 to Section 55 of the NCA 2003 provides for this. What do we mean by regulatory direction? Regulatory direction simply means a document containing specific instructions and tasks issued out to a service provider or a person in respect of compliance and non-compliance with certain provisions of the NCA 2003 and its subsidiary legislation, and also the terms and conditions of the license granted to a service provider or a person. Now, it is also important for you to know that before the NCC can issue out a regulatory direction to a service provider or a person, the NCC must have first of all issued a written notice outlining observed contravention and violation of certain provisions of the NCA 2003 or its subsidiary legislations. Upon the receipt of this notice by a service provider, it is expected of a service provider to reply to the commission adducing reasons for the contravention and violation of certain provisions as contained in NCA 2003 or its other subsidiary legislation. Now, when the commission have received the response from a service provider, it is also expected of the commission to carefully examine the reasons adduced by the service provider. Now, when the reasons are be carefully examined, it is a necessity upon the commissioner to now issue a regulatory direction to a service provider. But in an instance where a service provider refuses to carry out the tasks as outlined in regulatory direction, the commission can choose to commence a civil action against such service provider as outlined in Regulation 4 of the Nigerian Communication Enforcement Processes Regulations 2019. And where it has been found that a service provider is guilty, the service provider will be fined a fine of 5 million naira and 500,000 naira for every day the offense persists. Now, let's move to the second power. The second power of the commission says that the commission has the power to actually make public inquiries and likewise private inquiries. Section 57 to 60 of the NCA 2003 makes provision for this. Now, let me define what public inquiry means in the telecommunication industry. Public inquiry in the telecommunication industry simply means an instance where the commission, that is the NCC, make due consultation with relevant stakeholders within the telecommunication industry to hear their opinion and take out. Now, Section 71 and Section 72 of the NCA 2003 also provides for public inquiries. And what are the instances where public inquiries can actually be carried out? Here we go. When it comes to making one of its subsidiary legislation, that is regulation now, when it comes to making regulation, the commission is expected to carry out public inquiry. And when it comes to making amendment to this regulation, it is expected of the commission to also carry out public inquiry. Let's now move to the making of guideline, being one of the subsidiary legislation of the commission. Now, when it comes to making of guidelines, the commission is at liberty whether to carry out public inquiries or not. And same is applicable when it comes to the amendment of guidelines. It is also important for you to know that upon public inquiry, it is expected of this commission to make public reports of their findings, and it should be within 45 days after the inquiries has been completed. Now, let's move to the third power of the commission. The third power of the commission says that the commission has the power to make investigation. The commission has the power to make investigation. This is provided for in Section 61 to 63 of the NCA 2003. Now, when the commission wants to make investigation, the commission can only make investigation where it is believed or it is presumed that certain provisions of the NCA 2003 subsidiary legislation and terms and conditions of licenses granted to several service providers is about to be violated. Another instance where this commission can choose to investigate is where there is a report from an individual that there is a violation about to happen. And it is expected of the commission that if the commission will be unable to carry out investigation, the commission is expected to communicate to the complainant within 60 days adducing reasons for such refusal not to carry out investigation. Now, in an instance where investigation has been carried out, it is also expected of the commission to make public reports of the findings. Now, another power of the commission that is similar to power of investigation is the power of the commission to actually confiscate documents, that is seized documents or network facilities. This is provided for in Section 143 of the NCA 2003. And also note that Regulation 5 of the Nigerian Communication Enforcement Processes Regulation 2019 provides for this, that in an instance where the commission carries out investigation and it finds some documents like permits, another document for daily running of a particular service provider, and even network facilities, the commission is empowered to actually seize those documents and other facilities. Now, an important power also that is similar to investigation is the power of the commission to seal off premises. Regulation 5 of the Nigerian Communication Enforcement Processes Regulations 2019 also make provision for this, that when in an instance where the commission is conducting investigation and you find some operation to be illegal within the premises of a service provider, the commission can actually seal off the premise of such a service provider. Now, it is important for you to know that when it comes to investigation, it can only be done by an authorized official of the commission. And what do I mean by this? An authorized official must have the authorization of the commission or the authorization from a competent court of law. Now, let us move to another power of the commission. Another power of the commission is the power to gather information. The commission has the power to gather information. Section 64 to 65 of the NCA 2003 provides that the commission can gather information that are relevant to its regulatory mandates. Now, an individual can be called upon by the commission to come and give them certain information. it is expected of such individual to give accurate and correct information. In an instance where the individual gives false information and such individual is found guilty of such, then the individual is liable to pay a fine of 100,000 naira or to be imprisoned for a term of not more than 1 year. Now, another power of the commission is the power of the commission to monitor the activities of service provider and at the same time provide performance reports. Section 87 of the NCA 2003 provides for this. When it comes to power of monitoring as regards the commission is expected to actually monitor the quality of service provided by a service provider, the network facilities of a service provider, and the necessary equipment that the service provider is expected to work with. Now, in an instance where a service provider refuses or is found wanting in this area, the premises also can be sealed off, and at the same time the license can actually be suspended. Now, it is also important, let's go to another power of the NCC. Another power of the NCC is the power to take caution when it comes to emergency. This is provided for in section 148 of the NCA 2003. And what are the measures that the commission can take when it comes to emergency seasons? Number one is that the commission can suspend the license of a service provider. The commission can choose to take over the network facilities of a service provider. The commission can choose to intercept communication during emergency period. Note that some of these measures taken by the commission can or may actually negate some of the provisions as contained in section 37, that is right to privacy, and 39, that is right to information, freedom of information, as provided in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Now, let's move to another power of the commission. Another power of the commission is that the commission is expected to ensure that a service provider have what we call disaster recovery plan. And what is disaster recovery plan meant for? It is meant for survivability and recovery of network services in instances where there seems to be a breakdown. This is provided for in section 149 of the NCA 2003. And one thing about the provision of section 149 of NCA 2003 is that the provision makes use of the word may, that is, the service provider may provide for disaster recovery plan. But in other subsidiary legislation like the NCC Unified Access License in its condition 3.4 make sure that after 9 months that a service provider has been granted license, it is expected of a service provider to make disaster recovery plan available. Now, to the last power of the commission. The last power of the commission can actually be seen in Regulation 6 of the Nigerian Communication Enforcement Processes Regulation 2019. It provides that an official of the NCC cannot be obstructed, harassed, or even delayed when it is time for such official to carry out investigation and other functions as vested by the provisions of NCA 2003. Finally, it is important for you to know that the NCC cannot and can never act outside the provisions of the NCA 2003 and other subsidiary legislation as provided. Now, for other information on this particular topic and subsequent topics that you will come across in our law firm, please visit www.harlemsolicitors.com and please follow us on all social media handles at HARLEM Solicitors. Thank you.